Hi guys, and welcome back to the PE podcast. Today's episode is going to focus entirely on the routes different athletes have taken into the world of elite and professional sport. We're going to hear from Carney, Galal Yafai, Danielle Khan, Ali Jawad and Darren Carter. I hope you enjoyed today's episode.
I actually moved to Arsenal while I was still at university. So I was 18 when I left to play for Arsenal. So I was still living in Loughborough and training full time there. And only once a week, I just turned up for the game on a Sunday. So that was even more harder for me because I couldn't fit in with a team. I couldn't train with them. I literally just had to rock up on a Sunday, and that was my only opportunity. So you're under big pressure then to perform, to play well, because if you don't, the manager doesn't see you for another week. So you've got to make the most of it. So I did that for 2 years. And then in my third year, then when I left university, I was able to train with Arsenal. And I just commuted then to London backwards and forth. So it's a different kind of experience for sure. And probably one that people would be like, I wouldn't have expected that route to happen for her. But yeah, I was very much bolt-holded to Loughborough till I was 21, really.
So what made you want to get that degree? So you didn't know...
See, my story is a bit different because it's not like my brothers, because they've literally come up from 14, 13 and boxed all the way till now. With me, it was I started boxing at, I think my first fight was 18, so it's quite old. So at that point, I'm already catching up. So yeah, I was 18, but at that time as well, I've got to go to college. I've got to maybe get a job in a few years. So I had my first fight at 18. I went to college. I was studying in college for 2-3 years. When I got to 21, I needed a job. I left college. I wanted to get a job. So I found a job at, Land Rover, the factory in Solihull. I got a job there. I worked there for, I think, 2-3 years. So I was 23, I think, when I left. And I remember telling my boxing coach, I was like, this is for my amateur club. I was like, my last year now, I'm going to give it this last push and then I'm going to just leave it. And he said to me, this was a year before the Olympic Games. And he said to me, no, you can go to Olympic Games in Rio. And I thought, he's crazy. There's no chance I can go to Olympics in Rio next year. And I'm still working in the factory. And I had no chance of being on the Great Britain team. And then I did well in championships my last year. I got an assessment for Great Britain. I did well in those. And then I think this was now November 2015. But I had a few issues with work because I had to be up Sheffield full time, training with GB. But I was working 4 or 5 nights a week. So GB spoke with Land Rover. They kind of sorted it out. And then I started training at Sheffield. And then, cut a long story short, I went to a qualifier and then qualified for the Olympics. And then I left work. I left work, and then that was it. The rest is history. And I just haven't been to work since.
So I always was involved in the team sports, cricket, rounders, netball, and being able to run quite fast. Short track speed skating is a very explosive sport. And requires a lot of sprint-based training away from the ice rink. So obviously I took a liking to those sports and enjoyed the team ethos of that. But also I did a lot of cross-country for the school as well, and really enjoyed that. I swam when I was younger as well. So I've really had a taste of a lot of sport. And yeah, really enjoyed doing everything with Tudor Grange, the PE lessons and extracurricular stuff as well.
Awesome. So is that something that you'd potentially advise to some of our students? Because I know it's such a cultural thing, but you speak to so many lads who are in GCSE in Cambridge, and what sport do you play? Football. Never try anything else, not interested in trying anything else. But I don't think they understand that so much of those sports carry over to different things. So you could be good at football, and that then as a result, you could be good at basketball, you could be good at rugby, and you could find your opening in that. And I think when you hear, there's a few podcasts to listen to and they talk to elite athletes, they didn't just play one sport when they were younger. There's somebody who's just signed for Birmingham City called George Friend, and he was saying that rugby was his sport when he was younger, and he sort of stumbled into football and then became a professional that way. And he just sort of, like you stumbled into cycling as a result of the injury, and you've become an elite athlete now, really, in two sports.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree there. And I think the key is, especially while you're at younger ages, is just to get stuck into as much as you can and enjoy it. Don't specialize too early. I see that time and time again with young 14, 15, 16-year-olds, where they classify themselves as a sprinter, for instance. And especially with something such as cycling, it's a late specialization sport. You know, getting stuck into a range of different disciplines in cycling. Don't just focus on one thing. But like you say, if you're a football player and you really enjoy that, why not do rugby? Why not do cross country? And I really do think, looking across not just cyclists, but athletes, gymnasts, all the elite athletes that are at the top of their game, they have skills, and I think it is skills in a level that has been built from doing so much variety when they were younger, especially at that grassroots age. And I think for me, I owe a lot to all my skating training. That's allowed me to develop into the rider I am today. It's put those foundations in, if you like, which obviously when I'm a kid, you're a bit naive to it. But now I study sport fitness and coaching degree. And obviously I've learned so much. I kind of look back and go, wow, that's actually aided me into the bike rider I am today.
Awesome. That's really good feedback, because I think at the school that I teach at, we try and offer, because I've taught at 2 or 3 schools, and we offer such a wide range of sports. And I think some students go into it with a bit of a closed mindset that this isn't my sport. I'm not going to be very good at it. Let's get through this 6 weeks term and we can go back to football or rugby or cricket or basketball or whatever it is. But I think it's just giving it a go and enjoying sport as a general thing, because I think as you sort of get older and older, there's more sports you wish you could play. I know I watch rugby on TV all the time now. I think I wish I had that chance at school, because as much as I enjoy watching it, I don't really understand it. There's so many rules, and I just think, what to give in that for? What to give in this for? And I wish I could play now. And it's the same with cricket. The cricket's on TV now, and I never played cricket at school. And then we're playing a little bit at school recently with the staff, and I'm awful at it because I never got to play at school. I never applied myself or took myself out to find a club or find a bit of training that I could have done quite easily. And I never took the advantage of having those things available to me.
No, I definitely agree. And even from my point of view, because I was short track speed skating is such an early specialization sport like gymnastics, I was very focused at a young age. So even myself now sitting here, I look back and sometimes think, oh, it would have been nice to have gone to that netball match or gone to that swimming gala or gone to that. But I was so full on with just focusing on my skating training, which obviously I had to give it the time it needed and the commitment. But like you said, if you've got the options available, I would 100% recommend getting stuck into whatever you can and enjoying it, because you never know where it might lead to. And sitting here, I definitely have, I suppose a few regrets about not being able to do everything I wanted to do at school. So
I think my Paralympic dream probably started when I was 6 years old. I watched Michael Johnson in the '96 Olympic Games. So he won 200 and 400 meter Olympic gold. It's not been done since. It's, like probably the best performances you're ever going to get. Even though he was American, I remember him being on top of the podium, and there was a contrast between how he competed, because he was incredible, but on the podium he literally burst into tears. And from like a strange reason was I thought, well, I wanted to feel what he's feeling. Like, how can somebody be so good and then just drop down crying their eyes out? And I felt like I needed to feel what he was feeling. But I knew that I had no legs, so I couldn't run like him. But I knew I wanted to get to the Olympics. Back then it was the Olympics, because I didn't know there was a Paralympic Games at all. So I knew that I needed to find a sport that I was good at to get to that sort of level. So it was actually when I was 11 that I started judo. and I did judo at the top, well, a top age group level, I'd say, for about 5 years. But I had to quit judo because we found out in 2004 that at the Paralympic Games, it's only open for blind and visually impaired, not for amputees, because obviously Paralympic sport is classification. You're put in a classification of a disability, and judo wasn't open to amputees at the time. And it still isn't open to amputees. So it was hard for me because I literally sacrificed my life for like 4 years as a kid, thinking that I could make it. Judo was my first love of sport, so it was quite hard. So me coming from an Arabic background, parents all about education rather than sport, and especially back then. And it was my GCSE year when I had to quit judo. So I focused on my GCSEs to get good grades. And I was lucky enough to get into one of the top, by the time it was the top college in the country with my grades, which was lucky for me, especially where I came from in Tottenham. You don't get into that sort of college. So I knew I had some brains, but I was literally depressed for about a year, thinking my Paralympic dream is over. Like, what do I do? Like, yes, I've got the education side, but my dream was to always make the Paralympic Games. So during my maths GCSE exam, I think it was afterwards, my friend literally forced me to go to the gym across the road from the school. So I've never touched a barbell in my life. Like for judo training, it's only bodyweight stuff and like just grappling. But I never actually touched weights before. So he literally forced me to go to the gym, and on the first day that I was in the gym, I lifted a 100-kilo bench press. And obviously the whole gym stopped, stared at me, and they're like, who is this person? Now I thought I did something wrong. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know like what a barbell was. And this big guy comes up to me and said, can you stay here for a minute to go get somebody? Now I generally thought I did something wrong. So I said to my friend, let's put the weights away and get out of here. I don't know what I've done. And my friend's like, I don't know what you've done. Like, we always get into trouble. And it was kind of really like scared. So we literally tried to get out of the reception, and I got stopped by this old man. And he goes to me, do you know what you've done? I was like, no, please don't hurt me. I'm going to go home. He said, well, you just bench pressed 100 kilo, and looking at you, well, he said, looking at you, you're probably about what, 15, 16? And looking at your body weight, he said, you're probably what, lightweight, middleweight? And I said, well, I don't know what I weigh. I've never weighed myself really the last year or so. He goes, look, you need to come back. He said, I used to coach the national team at the Paralympic Games, and I've never seen anything like this, not at your age. So that was my second chance. And yeah, here we are now, 15 years later.
When I was at football, and I was fully focused and engaged in that. But as you say, it was putting sort of getting a schedule together that allowed me to obviously get my rest from football, but gave me the time then to study, to revise and do everything I needed to for school. So my parents were great in that aspect. But again, I think just sort of balancing me out and making me realise that. Listen, this dream of being a footballer, yes, work as extremely hard as you possibly can to fulfill that. But, I've been told through playing at Birmingham City and sort of been given the ratios of kids who have gone on to play and playing the professional game are very low. So it was always made aware to me that, listen, you need to really focus at school and make sure you do well in your exams, because this football dream ultimately might not happen, and there's other things that can play into that. Injury, sometimes you can be unfortunate in that capacity, or you get to a level and you may not progress how you want to. So yeah, I was always told that to have a backup, basically. So school and my exams were always going to give me that platform if football never materialised.
That's really interesting. And I want to build on that again a little bit more, in terms of a lot of our students aren't in academy football, and I think they dream to get to academy football because they think it's this golden place where you play football all the time and you arrange your friends and you have little possession games and you go into matches. But it's obviously much more than that, and it is a very stressful environment, and there's a lot of pressure. And it's not just the pressure, I think, of the individual, maybe it's family pressure, and they're hoping that one day you become a professional footballer and you almost take that sort of financial burden. They think, well, my son's made it or my daughter's made it, we can relax now. What's that pressure like in an academy? Because I know it's not this golden place where you just go for a kickabout with your mates. There's a lot of pressure from coaches, analysts, family, friends. How did you deal with that, and how does that pressure sort of form itself?
I think you put more pressure on yourself. I think I think when you go into academies, everything is provided for you, and the standard of coaching, the facilities. So it's all there to help you ultimately. I think it's important not to put too much pressure on yourself, and just trusting what you're doing, trusting the process, and not forgetting what's got you to that point. If you are fortunate enough to get into an academy, you've obviously done something right before then. You've worked extremely hard, and so I think for me, again, I found it. Family and friends were so encouraging and supported me so much. Even my friends at school, as soon as they knew I was signed to Birmingham City, they seen me as this professional already. So that gave me an extra bit of confidence that I wanted to succeed and to go on in the game. So I think with football, we all know that even at the highest level now, there's a lot of pressure from fans, from everything, from managers. But you're always best, going back to what has got you there, or has got you success. And ultimately, they're non-negotiables for me. Hard work, your attitude, your sacrifices as well. That's a big thing, I think, for me. Coming through school and then ultimately leaving, was the sacrifices I made. Maybe not, going out with my mates, or going to a house party or something like that. I'd stay at home and prepare and rest and eat right, drink right, knowing that was going to give me the best possible chance. So trusting that the things, the fundamentals that ultimately are going to get you success.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Next week's episode will focus entirely on the hidden lives behind athletes that we might not see as spectators or fans of clubs and individuals, that we don't know about, but they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And to understand that there's more to an athlete than what you see on television, in the newspapers, and on social media. I'll see you again here next Saturday for the next episode.